"So I must depart immediately after my business is concluded," he said, dejected that he hadn't been solicited about his more important treasury duties. "That is most unfortunate to hear," stated Marcus, to the air around himself. He inspected some obscure but apparently fascinating defect in the court walls before resting his eyes back on the bishop. "I had hoped that you could stay and explain the new trends coming out of Longbridge. I hear tell that the sciences and arts are truly flourishing under the vicar's watchful eye." The bishop nodded in conceit. "He is a wise and just man. Now, if I may be escorted to my room, the draught is carrying this mist ever which way, and I worry for my health." Marcus gave a slight smirk, unnoticed by the bishop. "My men will see to your belongings, and the port, of course. If you'll excuse me, I am needed for small matters of business before we dine. I take my leave." With this, Marcus nodded and headed toward the west wall, intent on inspecting the troops' morale before heading inside. The bishop fumbled motionless for a minute, and then called out towards the rapidly departing Kell, "May the vicar love us." Marcus flinched in his gut, but kept his shoulders level. How could he forget that stupid customary parting so fond within the church? He proceeded to the wall without pause, pretending never to have heard. Up the stairs with a pace as regal as possible, and he was on the rampart. Above the earth's heat, he stood solitary against the biting wind. The wall post always made you feel alone. One man surrounded by a sea of brick that doesn't soft the more solid cold, provided no shelter against the wailing winds. A cough some feet ahead gave away the position of the wall guard. His silhouette was hunched over, and Marcus opened his mouth to chastise. He stopped when his lungs again filled with the ice that passed for wind up here on the walls. He softened and called out, "Soldier, when is your relief?" The man immediately straightened. "I apologize, my liege. It was but a small respite from the cold, a fluke that will not happen again." "That isn't what I asked," replied Marcus. He was close enough to see the ensign of a private. "Are you in need of relief?" "No, sire. My shift ends in an hour, and a Moctan never fails his service." Marcus thought of the commission oath and what it meant. A Moctan always upholds his end. He never fails his service. He protects the innocent and the weak. He makes the nation strong and his Kell proud. "Are you proud?" he mumbled to himself as he turned to face the inner court. "Continue your patrol, Private," he declared absent-mindedly. As the young man moved farther down the pathway, Marcus gave way to his thoughts. Here he was, one of the youngest Kells. The Serpent of the West had sent his little disarming beetle into battle first. A feint, proclaiming the senility of age, or a diversion to belie the venom that surely must come after. Father's voice whispered softly against this bishop, but how long could he rely on Father? His voice would fade in time, as all things did, and could the boy Kell stand on his own, or be consumed by the python, or some other unseen threat? The scorpions to the south, or maybe even the midgets of the central swell. What would he leave his children when he died? Would he live to have children? Aquatane had found his quarters initially disheartening. While the stonework was tight in joint and magnificent in scale, it was all stone. No warm woods or even rudimentary clay fixtures to provide some contrast. And everything was draped in dead animal skins. He understood the need for physical warmth, but did they have to leave the heads on everything? Despicable. On the plus side, they brought him the whole bottle of wine, and as it decanted, he planned his attire. All the stops would be pulled out tomorrow, but tonight called for subdued oppression. Dazzle them in spirit, and little words would be needed. He would bring his cleric staff to dinner, but leave the mitre and overcoat for the ceremony. As he laid out a forest green robe and light golden dress shirt, he smelled the telling sign of sweetness fill the room. At least they knew their spirits. A quick sip, and he kicked off his travel shoes. 3 more sips saw him into his shirt and coat. And my, what a handsome figure the silver mirror cut, and so powerful in features. He turned and tripped over a bear head. Or at least he was sure it was a bear. Never seen one before, had he? Aquatane readdressed his luggage for some rings and a diamond-studded collar for flair. Another stout mouthful of wine, and he turned right into the glaring dead eyes of a deer-like creature. Hanging from the wall, no less, seriously with the decorations. He made mental note to praise this brutish display of death, as clearly that is what the barbarians considered strength. Couldn't they spare a little crystal gleam? A last big swig for constitution, and the Bishop of Longbridge was ready for dinner.